Despite a relatively annoying 24 hours against the worst team in baseball, history has been made by the Seattle Mariners. With their 21st victory of August, they secured their winningest month in franchise history today. We'll talk all about it coming up here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. This is Trident Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Thank you so much for making us your first listen after the game. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you're part of the crew and rock with us every single day, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. You can now get a free 7-day trial to check out the show. The link as well as our social accounts is in the description of this episode. 5-4 the final score from T-Mobile Park. Mariners eke out a close one against the A's. They found themselves down 3-0 for the second game in a row, but this time they were able to claw their way back. Teoscar Hernandez with a 3-run home run to tie things up and extend his hitting streak to 9 games. Then JP Crawford in the bottom of the 7th with a 2-run go-ahead single. And that's all she wrote, folks. With that, the Mariners wrap up the month of August with 21 wins, which is the most in a calendar month in franchise history. But Colby, last night was a disaster. Today was almost a disaster, but the Mariners were able to avoid it. Thoughts? There's the signature sigh.
Yeah. Watching this offense was a soul-sucking embarrassment that made me ashamed to do this podcast. So
he literally texted me at the 4th inning or something saying, I'm not doing a post-game show.
No, if they lost, A, nobody here is going to listen to it. We know how you guys act. We know. Okay. We see the numbers. B, I didn't have it in me to just ream the team for their performance. So there wasn't even going to be an entertainment factor there. And C, I didn't feel like they deserved our time after the way they played the last 24 hours, because frankly, they played terribly. The offense was the worst. The Cole Irvin game is probably the worst we've seen it in the second half, but that was pretty darn close. They tried to give you that game. They walked 8-9 guys. They hit a guy. They were terrible last night, and you scored 1 run off of that. Get out of here. The number of times we saw Dylan Moore swing at a pitch at his eyeballs and then take strike 3 right down the middle of the plate. What are we doing? And it wasn't just Dylan Moore. It was Eugenio. It was everybody sucked last night. And, it's easy to throw that one away. Be like, oh, well, Julio got scratched late and Kirby got scratched late and JP dinged himself up and Ty France got taken out of the game. Who cares? You're playing a glorified AAA team and they gave you every opportunity to beat them and you scored 1 run. Get out of here with your excuses. Yeah. You sucked. For one night, you sucked. And you come back today and you sucked for about 6 innings. And you found a way to win this time, though. So I guess that makes it all better. But they were bad. Let's not kid ourselves here. They grinded through a win today. No, they sucked today. They sucked more yesterday, but they sucked today too. It was a bad game. Miller was very mediocre for most of the day. The offense, more bad at bats, just taking strike 3s right down the middle. Honestly, this game was won because there were 2 pockets of time where you strung 4 good at bats in a row, or 4 out of 5 good at bats in a row together. And that's how you score 5 runs. That's not an acceptable way to win. That's not how you're going to beat the Rangers. That's not how you're going to beat the Astros. That's not how you're going to beat the Blue Jays. You can't just sit here and be like, oh, well, we'll just have 1 inning where 3 guys in a row hit the ball hard and we'll call that good. That'll be enough offense for the day. No, it won't. No, it won't. You're going to lose. Play better. It's really not that difficult of a concept. Play better. You didn't play well the last 24 hours. Okay, we said that was going to happen at some point. We knew it was going to happen at some point. But to have it happen in the same 24-hour span, yikes. That was tough to watch. But 5-1 homestand, 21 wins in a month. Still in first place. Didn't drop any games, and you're still as securely in the playoffs now as you were, 24 hours ago, actually more so, because now there's fewer games for Toronto to catch you and knock you out of the playoffs. So yeah, all in all, it was incredibly annoying, the last 2 games, but not a huge impact in terms of what it did to your playoff odds,
Right.
or your chances to win the division even. So, and annoying, yes, very much so. Like, it's over. No, no, they just got to play better. But if they do play like
No,
this, if they
nothing
do
that
play
could
like,
happen these 2 games though would have been it's over.
if
Even
they
if
got
they
shut out
lost it.
today, they
Even
got
if
shut
they
out
lost.
today, I would have
Oh,
been, nah.
stop.
But
Stop.
if they play like this against the Mets this weekend, they're getting swept. Like,
That's a
they'll
pretty
be
bad though.
lucky. I mean, not as bad as the A's.
Mm,
They'll be lucky to get out of there with a win if they play like this. So they need to play better. But considering that they played out of their minds for like what they go 21-6 this month,
mm,
like I'm
yeah.
still feeling relatively confident they can turn it around. But yeah, all eyes on Julio on that lineup on Friday. We'll probably get that at around noon, and we're sure hoping Julio's in it because yeah, the last 2 games were, if ever there was a case for Julio to be the true MVP, it's the last 24 hours. There you go.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with this Mets Rangers game right now. At the time of us recording this, it's the bottom of the 3rd. The Mets are up on the Rangers 3-0. So
Top
uh
of the 4, 3-1.
oh, it's 3-1 now. Okay. I guess
They're gonna blow it.
Baseball Savant did not update for me. Well, if the Mets are somehow able to hold on here, the Mariners will go back into sole possession of first place in the American League West because, of course, they have the tiebreaker over the Houston Astros. So, yeah. All right. You mentioned Bryce Miller. He had the rough second inning, the 2-run home run to Lawrence Butler, and then he wasn't able to stop the bleeding after that home run. Gave up another run on an RBI double by Ryan Noda. But other than that, 6 innings pitched, the 3 earned runs that I mentioned there in that second inning on 7 hits, 5 strikeouts, no walks, 9 hard hit balls. It's okay outing for Miller. I mean, again, it's the A's, right? So, 3 runs over 6 innings against, any other team looks a lot better than it does against, the worst team in baseball, right? Like a sorry excuse for a baseball team, but still a quality start on paper, right? As
If you like that garbage stat, sure.
sure, as described by the stat itself, right? This is a quality start by Bryce Miller. What do you think
Technically,
about his day?
not very good. He's middle of the plate a lot, threw a lot of strikes, which is good. But not all strikes are created equal, and when you pipe 93 down the middle of the plate, it's gonna get hit hard, and they're gonna do damage regardless if you're facing the 4A, Sacramento River Cats. Okay. They're still going to do damage on it. That's what happened. But 14 whiffs, not a bad number, not a high strikeout, or not a high whiff percentage today, though. Oakland was very aggressive against Miller, which is kind of a trend recently. The off speed stuff wasn't very good today either. So it was mostly how far can you get on his four seamer, and again, it was a quality start, but I don't think he was very good. I don't think he was. I wouldn't say he was terrible, but like it's just kind of a middling start from Miller. So yeah, it was good enough, and obviously he just the one bad inning, and he looked better, as the game went on, but it just nothing really came easy for Bryce today, and it's a bit of a bummer. But he did battle through 6, and he didn't let the game get out of hand. So I guess I'll give him credit for that.
Sure. There you go. All right. We're going to talk more about this one. We're going to talk about Andres Munoz. We're going to be talking about Teo, JP, all the rest in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners postgame show is brought to you by LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/LOCKDON for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Thank you so much for making us your first listen after the Mariners 5-4 victory over the Oakland Athletics. They have a day off tomorrow. Then they're heading to the Big Apple to face the New York Mets on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What is that face? What are you making that face for?
You kind of hammed it up a little bit. Face the New York Mets.
I'm building it up, man. Building it up.
Okay.
Building it up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do your thing.
Building it up. The revenge series for one Mr. Daniel Cornelius Vogelback.
Pete Alonso, we're going to think that he became a left-handed hitter after Sunday's game. So,
sure. Yeah. So, speaking of the Mets, they're still up, 3-1 right now on the Rangers? Yeah,
headed to the bottom of the fourth.
There we go. All right. So, we'll see if they can hang on here. Fingers crossed. And then the Mariners can get back into sole possession of first place in the American League West. So, speaking of that Mets series, real quick before we go back to today's game, George Kirby obviously was scratched before yesterday's scheduled start. He was sick. He played catch today, as far as I'm aware, and they're expected to slot him in for either the Saturday or the Sunday game. So that would move back Brian Wu, I believe.
I think that's the plan. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it doesn't seem like anything that's going to keep Kirby out for too much longer. And then we'll keep an eye on, obviously, what's going on with Julio. But yeah, so before we go back to this offense real quick, I want to talk about Andres Munoz because he had a really good outing today. Again, obviously it's the A's, but Munoz looked really good today. What did you think about his outing?
He's back, baby. Like,
that's right.
It's over for you when Andres comes into the game. No, he was good. Like, it was definitely a better version of Andres than we saw through, large portions of August. The velocity, he hit 100 a couple times today, which is good to see. It's weird. Like, it's weird to see a guy consistently sit 97, 98 for an entire month and be like, ooh, like his velo's down. But that's kind of what it's been for Andres. His arm slot is a lot lower. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but when you look at the right angle, it looks like it's true sidearm now. I don't know if that's intentional or if he's compensating for, something, but it's still a little worrisome. He fell behind the count to two of the three hitters that he faced. But the fastball there, the two-seamer today was really good. And the slider actually had some good bite to it. And he was able to throw it both in the zone and get a chase outside of the zone, which is a really good sign. So it was the best slider we've seen the last few times out. And it is the second time in a row that he's had a 1-run lead in the ninth, and he's slammed the door entirely, mostly because of the fastball. But again, today he did mix in the slider, which really is the pitch that he needs. I mean, 98 with run on the two-seamer and 100 with ride can take you a long way. But we know Andres doesn't have like the pinpoint command, and he's going to leave some pitches down the middle. It's because the stuff is so good that he gets away with it. If you can eliminate the slider and just sit dead red, he's going to get hit around a little bit. And walks have been a bit of an issue today. He didn't walk anybody, which is good. Did fall behind a little bit, but overall it was a much better outing from Andres. And the fact that we saw a couple sliders, good sliders, that's a really good sign, because again, you need Munoz, you need Brash to step it up over the month of September and hopefully October, hopefully deep into October. I think Munoz the last two times out has looked pretty close to old Andres, which is kind of what you need right now. So definitely encouraging sign, but I think you need to see it 3-4 times in a row. You need to see it against a better lineup. Today he was facing 7, 8, 9 of the A's, like not the most intimidating part of the lineup, but again, still good stuff. Threw strikes, got whiffs, dropped the slider in a few times. It was a good outing for Andres today.
Maybe my ears deceiving me, but I heard Aaron Goldsmith refer to the two-seamer as a new two-seamer. There's something different going on with it today or something? I didn't notice anything.
No, he's been throwing it more recently, more than the four-seamer even. So it's been that way for about, I think, since the second half. It feels like we've seen a lot more two-seamers.
Yeah.
So I've noticed the two-seamer. I don't think it's all that new, but I guess.
But he said that, and I was just like, what?
I mean, like, I guess, like, relatively speaking to like Andres's career, it's
Sure.
kind of a new pitch, but he's been throwing it quite a bit lately.
Sure.
So I don't think it's new. And like today was the first day he brought it out.
Right. So, yeah, good outing for Munoz today, and hopefully he can maintain that momentum because, like you said, they're going to need him over this stretch. They are definitely going to need him for that gauntlet against the Astros and the Rangers at the end of the season as well. And they're also going to need Matt Brash, who looked pretty good today as well. He had he I know.
Did he?
I know he wasn't. Look, this is an inside thing, us texting with one another.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I was nervous. Okay, I was like,
I get it,
why
man.
couldn't we just get like
lights
out Matt Brash? It wasn't lights out Matt Brash today.
It's pretty close.
It was pretty close, and that slider to Tony Kemp in the ending was nasty. I mean, he has Tony Kemp living in hell the last 2 days, so that's been fun to watch at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have both of those guys rolling, and then you reinforce that with Saucedo and Spire and Topa, like you're in a good spot with this bullpen. Yeah. It still feels like this bullpen is an arm short, but whatever. Nothing you can do about that at this point in the season, so whatever. But
if only somebody could have seen that coming.
Right. All right, so Sam Haggerty.
Wait, hold on. Hey, I just want to touch on Brash real fast here because this made me laugh.
Sure.
Brash threw 15 pitches today, 9 sliders, 7 swings on the slider, 6 whiffs.
Yeah. Wow.
1 called. He threw 9 sliders and he got a whiff or a called strike on 8 of them, or on 7 of them.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Good luck.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. And then he had a slider that crossed up Cal that allowed Rooker. I think it was.
Yeah,
Rooker.
I think it was. Yeah,
Rooker to move up, but yeah. So good day for those guys. So that's nice to see, especially because we haven't seen Brash much lately. Like we saw him fairly early on last night, which was a little bit of a surprise. And then, we've seen him today. So, yeah. All right. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Thank you again for making us your first listen after the Mariners 5-4 victory over the Oakland Athletics. Again, they have an off day tomorrow, but on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can catch them playing the Mets on the Mariners hometown broadcast, SiriusXM via the SXM app. So, Sam Haggerty is in the Mariners clubhouse. The Mariners, by the time that they play their next game, they're going to have 2 additional players on their roster because rosters are expanding on September 1st. So Haggerty is going to be one of those guys. That's not because of a Julio IL stint or anything like that. Calm down.
As far as we know,
fingers crossed. But that seems to just be a 28-man roster thing, not a Julio thing. Who do we think the other guy is going to be? It's going to be a pitcher. Is that going to be finally Prolander Baroa, or are we going to see Edward Bizzardo or Ryder Ryan? Are we going to see one of those guys? Riley O'Brien, maybe, who's someone that we haven't seen but is having a good year? Like, who do you think?
I hope it's Ryder Ryan.
Justice for Ryder Ryan.
Sure. Mariners.
He had a great lone inning, and then they were just like, no, we want Edward Bizzardo instead of you.
I mean, I think that was more about like we need fresh arms. So. And he's got options, but no, I think Ryder's got a little bit of like Paul Sewald in him, just in terms of stuff wise. And I feel pretty confident that he's going to throw strikes. I haven't kept up with how he's done in AAA, so maybe that's an issue. But I don't think it's going to be Baroa. Baroa's walked 7 guys in 12 innings since being demoted. Like, that's a problem, and it could end up being Burrow, just because at some point you just need strikeouts. Like, you're going to be in a spot where you need a strikeout, and Burrow is easily got the best stuff of anybody left in the system that you can call up. So it could be that, but Haggerty's the bat. We know that's a short-term thing. We'll see if, I don't know if you guys saw this, but some interesting arms were DFA'd or put on waivers the other day, which we'll talk about tomorrow after, the waiver deadline is passed and nobody cares anymore. But we'll see if maybe there's an outside acquisition. Just remember that anybody who you want to be eligible for the postseason needs to be in your organization by tomorrow, or by September 1st. So midnight tomorrow. So, I hope it's right, Ryan. I have a feeling it's probably going to end up being Bizzardo. One guy that it might be, just because, we know that they maybe want to carry somebody who can give them length a little bit if they're going to skip Woo or something like that. I think Adam Aller is kind of a guy to watch here. But we'll see. My preference would be Ryder Ryan. I think it more likely would be somebody like Bizzardo, but I think that I do think that Aller is a guy that people should keep an eye on. It's a little weird that we don't have a report of anybody also getting on the plane with Sam Haggerty or being in the clubhouse. So actually we just do. Ryan Divish, right when we press record, says Adam Aller is also here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we'll be Aller.
All right. Interesting. All right. So Adam Aller, Sam Haggerty, those two guys, they're going to be the call-ups for September 1st, it seems like. And, like you mentioned, Haggerty is going to be temporary. Jared Kelenic is scheduled to start his rehab assignment in Tacoma tomorrow. So depending on however long that takes, that's probably going to be the duration of Haggerty's stay on the roster. But
assuming no other injuries, which you never know.
Last night was incredibly cursed and gave me a whole lot of anxiety. And it seems like we've mostly dodged a bullet here. We'll see on Julio, but that to me seems more like let's just be cautious about this. You're our best player. Let's not force it. We are going up against the A's. I know that last night did not go well.
Careful.
But
you sure about that?
That does seem like what that is. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
By the way, I do have a thought when I looked at the lineup today. Righty on the mound, Cade Marlowe not in the game. Possible that Cade is the guy who gets sent down, and when Kelenic comes back.
That's weird though, because Cade's been a reverse splits guy. He
has been, but Dylan Moore in center field, we've seen that story before, and it doesn't go well.
Hey, he had a nice play today.
It worked, but it didn't cost you anything. But come on, Marlowe's a better center fielder than Dylan Moore. I don't know. Maybe Marlowe's the guy. Maybe because he has looked a little bit worse at the plate recently. But and Haggerty is just a better base runner, and so. How much power do you need on the bench? Blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. Maybe Marlowe's the dark horse to get sent down here. But either way, I would imagine we're not going to get an answer on who's getting called, or we don't need to know who's getting sent down for Kelenic until they get back home, would be my guess.
Yeah. I don't think that he's coming back at any point during this road trip, but probably right after.
Yeah.
Who are they playing when they get back? First matchup when they get home, because that's the Dodgers homestand as well.
I think it's the Angels and the Dodgers, and then they go back on the road.
Gotcha. All right. So want to go back a little bit here to the offense in today's game. JP Crawford, despite the offensive struggles, he's still keeping it going. He had an awkward slide last night into second base, kind of banged his right knee, right leg, whatever. But he had a big double last night that nearly set up a comeback in the ninth inning. And then today, obviously, has the big 2-run single. So he's just keeping it going, man. Love what JP's doing. And then Teo, 9-game hitting streak now after his 3-run home run, which had a launch angle of 19 degrees, Colby. 19 degrees, man.
Yeah. In golf, we call that shot a stinger. Just low to the ground and just kind of slices straight up. So Yeah, that was a really impressive. I mean, it was a spinning, two-seamer in the middle of the plate, but like,
Yeah,
he didn't miss it. He certainly didn't miss it. And let's not forget that Teo also saved you a run. So
Oh
Teoscar,
yeah.
Teoscar more or less responsible for 4 runs today, which obviously is the difference of the game and then some. So yeah, Teoscar. I mean, nobody ever single-handedly wins you a game, although Julio puts that to the test pretty much every other night. But Teo came pretty darn close with the 3-run bomb, and then cutting down Ruiz on really what was just a perfect throw, just a perfect one-hop strike. Cal got in plenty of time. Play was a lot closer than you might think, but Ruiz is just that fast. But yeah, Teoscar had a huge day today. And that's kind of the beauty of him, right? Because Teo goes 1 for 4. He only has the 1 hard hit ball today. Only struck out once, which is a good number for him.
Yep.
But yeah, just the 1 hit, and it's a 3-run homer, and then just made 1 play in right field, and it was to throw out what would have been the 5th run, for Oakland. So Teoscar had a huge game today, and that's good because it caps off a really good month for Teo, and it's something that again the Mariners are going to need Teoscar Hernandez to continue to play well, particularly if Julio is going to miss any period of time. We know how I don't want to say flaky. What's the word here? Inconsistent Gino and Cal can be at times. So
Sure.
you kind of need that stabilizing force. You still feel good about JP. You still feel good about Julio when he's in there. I don't think you count on Ty France for anything. So you need Teoscar to, be a guy for you down the stretch. He doesn't have to hit 450 like he did this month or whatever it was, but he's got to be a guy, a guy.
Today's a prime example of why you went out and got Teoscar Hernandez to begin with, though, is to protect you when Julio can't play or is having an off night, right? You still have that kind of firepower in your lineup with a Teoscar Hernandez. And so, yeah, he was great. He was great today. He's been great this whole month. The play, I mean, again, he basically saved this game for them with the throw at home, and that's a weapon, right? Like, his defense overall has kind of regressed over the course of the year. He was incredible, which blew all of our minds, to start the year. And now he's kind of regressed back to pretty much who we thought he was defensively, but that arm is still a massive weapon. And yeah, he certainly flashed that today in a big way, big way. So yeah, overall it was frustrating 24 hours, but the Mariners, they win another series, and that's all you really need to do here from this point forward, is just keep on winning series. Hopefully the Mets can take care of business today, and then hopefully they're not able to take care of business over the weekend against the Mariners. The Mariners need to continue stacking up wins. They need to continue stacking up series wins. And again, all of this is going to ultimately come down to that gauntlet at the end of September. That's what we're all heading towards. There's no shot of the Mariners creating enough of a buffer where those series don't matter as much as we think that they're going to. Those are going to be huge series. Those are going to be massive anxiety-inducing series. So buckle up, folks. It's going to be wild.
The only buffer you're going to create is between you and the Blue Jays. So it'd be great if you get to those last 10 and you're like 4 up on the Blue Jays like you are right now. Because then you feel like if you drop those games, like, hey, well, it's still a good shot to make the playoffs, and we could still do damage that way. But yeah, I think that last 4 games against Texas, I think they're going to be high impact games with a lot of stress for a lot of us. Some of you guys don't handle it as well as I do, but that's okay. That's why I'm here, to be the voice of reason and calm.
Yeah, mister. They didn't win the way that I wanted them to.
Don't start that.
Yeah, which
I'm the captain.
You have on multiple occasions given me a hard time for, and then just turn around and do the same exact thing. That's
because when I do it, it's true. Like, you just complain. Like, I'm spitting facts when I do it.
Hypocrite.
Don't start. Let me tell you guys a joke that Ty told me before we got started.
That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. For Colby Patnode, I'm Trident Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez. That's DANEGNZLZ. And Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well over at Locked On Mariners. That's one word, Locked On Mariners. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you again for making us your first listen after the Mariners' 5-4 victory over the Oakland Athletics. Again, tomorrow's an off day for the Mariners, but they're getting back after it on Friday and through the weekend. You can catch all the action against the Mets on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.